Hello and welcome to Enough, Stop Bullying in El Paso County. The show is dedicated to putting an end to bullying. I launched the effort to stand up to bullying 2 years ago when I noticed an increase in the number of bullying incidents coming into our office. Whether you have children or not, you should be concerned. Every 7 minutes a child is bullied on a school playground, and over 85% of those instances occur without any intervention. We can make a difference. Here's what we've done so far. In 2010, the El Paso County Sheriff's Office Anti-Bullying Coalition was formed. Their mission? To educate the community on the growing dangers of bullying and to spread the message that bullying will not be tolerated. In 2011, El Paso County Commissioners signed a proclamation proclaiming El Paso County to be a bully-free zone. We've partnered with local school districts and organizations to strengthen our efforts, and now we're hitting the airwaves with the help of the El Paso School District and KTSM News Channel 9.
Bullying stories can be found everywhere. Just about every person has experienced bullying in one form or another.
It can be verbal and include name calling or teasing, social like spreading rumors, physical involving hitting, punching, and shoving.
Bullying at school can happen peer to peer, older kids to younger ones, and in some cases even involve a teacher as either a victim or a culprit.
And with today's technology, the problem has also crossed virtual borders. Cyberbullying is now a serious problem that can cause long-term damage to victims and bullies.
Hello, I'm Chief Deputy Eddie Campa of the El Paso County Sheriff's Office and Chairman of the Anti-Bullying Coalition. I'd like to welcome you back to another episode of Enough, putting an end to bullying in El Paso County. In the studio with me now is Austin High School's principal, John Tanner. Mr. Tanner, thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule to join us and help us talk about this very important subject. Mr. Tanner, as you know, bullying is something that's sweeping across the nation. I mean, it's always been here, but recently it's been really highlighted with the media and everything. What kind of issues, or why do you think bullying is such a big issue?
Well, I'm glad bullying is an issue, and I think it's a big issue because we have been evolving as a country to understand that we really don't tolerate this anymore. I think it's fair to say, I just remember my experiences in school, bullying was quite rampant, but you really didn't talk about it. It was something to be expected. Right. It was something as, well, it's a life experience, suck it up. You had coaches and teachers and other people who wouldn't see it as necessarily a big problem as much as they saw it as a life learning experience. I think over time we're saying this isn't how we want to learn about our experiences in life and how to get along. And I think we have just evolved more and said, no, we're not going to tolerate this anymore.
What are some of the things that you're doing at your school or organizations that are at your school that are helping address this issue?
I think we're at Austin, I'm proud of our student body, and I don't think I'm exaggerating. I talk to the kids quite a bit. I feel that we have a pretty open community. It's hard not to fit in at Austin no matter what walk of life you come from. We're very fortunate. We have the Sandra Day O'Connor Academy for Criminal Justice and Social Service, and I think that really puts a nice emphasis on how we're supposed to live civilly in society, and I think that has helped our campus greatly. The other part is we're very fortunate. We have some very good administrators at our school. I think a wonderful faculty and staff, the adults of the building who walk the halls, who talk to the kids. Hopefully we have created an environment where the students know that they can come to us when a problem is happening, and that we have created an atmosphere that says, our school is for good people, and the bad people who want to make it bad, we need to either get them to change their mind or we need to get them out of our school and get them to an alternative placement where they will know that that behavior is not accepted. One of the other organizations that we have, and I was very impressed with the kids who started it last year, and a teacher who willingly sponsored the group. It's a Gay Straight Student Alliance, completely developed by the students at Austin High School, and got the program completely started there, and it's an active functioning organization at Austin High School.
Well, you know, you bring up some really good points. Just recently, El Paso ISD, who's one of our partners, of course, they help us put this show together, just changed well, not changed, they just adopted a new anti-bullying policy. But it seems like there's always been policies in place that have helped. It's just now, I guess, it's being taken to the next level. What are the differences between the old policy and the new policy?
The old policy would have it, I think it might even be a difference between the way we call it hate crimes in the field of law, and hate crimes are always offenses that were always against the law, but now we put an emphasis on what was the intent behind it, and which has probably resulted in some good stuff and people rethinking their behavior before they're going to commit such atrocious acts. I think the anti-bullying policy that EPISD has adopted has put a real clear name to it. It's not just saying you started a fight. It's saying you had an intention to start a fight for no other reason than to humiliate another person, and that will not be allowed. We're calling it what it is, and we're not letting you get away with it. I think what it does is it takes away the embarrassment of the person who is the victim. And I think in the past what has happened, and I think this is our evolvement, the victim of bullying doesn't want anybody to know because they're embarrassed and they're really believing everybody's laughing at them and that they are the outcast. With us being very clear and saying bullying is wrong, we're not putting up with it, you're not going to do this to another kid, you're not doing this to anybody, it actually empowers the victim to say, hey, I did nothing wrong. It's empowering the victim to say, you shouldn't do this to me, it's not going to be allowed, and it's against the rules.
You've been in the education field for quite some time. From when you first started to where you're at now, have you seen bullying increase, decrease, and has it become harsher, or is it less harsh?
Well, in my experience, it's become less, but for no other reason than for much of my career I was in a middle school. And middle school, I think by design, just by nature, by biology, you're going to see more bullying happening and more issues needing to be addressed at the middle school level. And at the high school level, I see much less than what I do at the middle school. I don't necessarily, I actually think overall and again, we're going on qualitative belief system
Right.
of what I believe. I don't think it has increased, but I think our awareness of bullying has definitely increased. And our awareness of saying, hey, when I see it, I'm going to say it, I'm going to do something about it.
Great. You're a parent as well. So just to wrap up and close up, as a parent, talking to other parents, what kind of advice do you have for those parents when their kids come to them with these type of issues?
Talk to your kids, take it seriously, find out what the issues are, dissect it, find out what is the role that your child has in it, if any. Find out where the full victimhood is happening, and let it be known that this is nothing to be ashamed of or to hide. In fact, for it to stop, you need to talk about it. It needs to come out in the open. It cannot remain a secret. The longer it remains a secret, the more it's going to continue to happen.
Mr. Tanner, thank you very much for taking time out of your busy schedule to join us, and congratulations on the great things taking place at your campus.
Thank you, Officer Compa. Appreciate it.
Welcome back to the studio. Joining me now is Danny Rollins, president of PFLAG, and two local students. Welcome. Thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule. Danny, would you please tell us a little bit about PFLAG and what the organization stands for and does?
Absolutely. Chief, PFLAG is a national organization all across the United States and in countries around the world with over 250,000 members. Mainly it's parents, family, friends of gays and lesbians. And it's an organization that's a support organization that's there to support the youth and students of the LGBT community.
Vanessa, thank you for taking time out of your schedule to join us today. I know that the reason you're here is to give us a couple of examples of situations that you've been involved in as to where you've been bullied, and tell us a little bit about how you've handled those situations.
Well, I'm a recent graduate. I just graduated this year of 2012, and during one of my courting ceremonies, there's a dress code, right? And the dress code for a girl is slacks and a t-shirt and a dress, and boys are slacks, t-shirt, tie. And I didn't think there would be a problem with me showing up with slacks and a t-shirt, but apparently there is. So I asked, the day before the ceremony, I asked my teacher, if it was okay if I just wore slacks and a t-shirt. And she said no, because it would be a bad reflection upon the school if I were to look like a boy. So that was kind of like, you know, very blunt and hurtful, because I trusted the teacher, and she was, you know, she just like straight up just said I had to conform instead of reform, and she didn't want to, she just put obstacles in the way that shouldn't be there. And I had to get involved with PFLAG. You know, my sister, she, you know, they all called to the superintendent and everything, and there shouldn't even be an issue about that. There wasn't even an issue. She was just being hard on me.
Noli, what kind of things have happened to you?
Well, my freshman year, I came out to my counselor and my vice principal as transgender and gay, which means that I'm female to male, transgender, and I like boys. So when I came out to them, they said, oh, that's cool, but then I said, well, I would like you to refer to me in the male pronoun because I am a boy. And they said, oh, that's cool. Oh, I know this this girl on a reality TV show who she also thinks she's a gay boy. So you don't feel alone. So, and they totally deny me my identity. And then my sophomore year, I came again and told them, like, I need you to use the male pronoun for me because I am a boy and you have not used the male pronoun for me. And they said, oh, well, you should, honey, you should take a step back because I still need to get used to this. And now it's my senior year and they still use the female pronoun for me. And they still tell me you shouldn't expect to be accepted at this day and age because you're so new.
They weren't letting you express who you really are. And
not only that, but they keep like every time I come out to them and talk to them about my issues as a transgendered person, they start asking me about my body, about hormones and surgery, as if it were their problem, not just mine.
Right. Well, it seems like we have a lot of issues that we need to address, and just really quick, Danny, if you could just kind of, you know, they had issues with adult teachers. Obviously, there wasn't issues with the parents. We always tell our kids to talk to the parents, but there's times when the kids can't talk to the parents. There's times when they can't talk to an adult. Tell us a little bit about the Safe Zone real quick.
Well, what we're implementing in partnership with the El Paso Anti-Bullying Coalition and with El Paso area school districts are safe zones. The UTEP social work department is working with us to train and to work with teachers to implement safe zones. There's a short training, 20 to 30 minute training. They will learn what a safe zone is and what a safe zone isn't, so that hopefully they will adopt in their classroom, libraries, nurse's office, safe zones. And then we have a poster that we're going to give them, and so that students like Noli and Vanessa and even Brandon can recognize and realize that there are supportive teachers, faculty members, and places that students can be and not have to worry about being bullied, harassed, or victimized.
Well, it's a good thing that you guys are doing. Thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule. And I know the poster was just flashed on the screen. So if anybody's in need of any help and they see this poster, you know that's a place you can get some help.
Okay.
Joining us in the studio today is the family of Brandon Elizarias. As you all recall, this past June, Brandon was a 16-year-old who took his own life because he fell victim to bullying. I'd like to introduce you to the family at this time. Joining me in the studio is his mom, Jacqueline, his grandfather, Robert.
Hi.
One of his best friends, Q.
Hi.
Right? And Jared, his brother. Jacqueline, I'd like to thank you for taking time to come into the studio today and talk about the situation. First thing I'd like to ask you is, I know it must be hard talking about your son committing suicide, but why did you decide to come forward and speak about it?
Because this is an issue that my son dealt with for a very long time, and we as a family had to deal with it with him, because he would go through bouts of depression brought on by being bullied, and which led to hospital stays, which led to us having to deal with it as a family versus him having to deal with it just himself. It wasn't just himself, because we as a family had to sit and watch him crying, isolating himself, hiding, you know, and I just felt the need to come out because a lot of children go through these things, and sometimes as parents you're so busy with life you're not really paying attention to what's going on with your kids, or even notice that, you know, hey, something's not right, you're acting differently, what's going on. And so I just wanted to bring awareness to, you know, really be looking at what your kids are doing, how they're acting.
Was Brandon, was he open about the situation of how he was being bullied and stuff? Or, I mean, did you know that it was because he was being bullied, or did you just think it was, you know, issues, medical issues or stuff that were causing the depression? Or?
The very first incident, he's never had any depression or been diagnosed as having anything. The very first incident that was followed by a hospital stay happened at Chapin High School. And this incident involved kids threatening to shoot him, which Q was there, she was present. And, you know, at that point I knew it was serious. At that point I knew I was scared. I didn't know what to do. The school called me and said, your son threatened to, you know, that he tried to commit suicide. At that point, I went to the school, picked my son up, and took him to UBH. And I found out from him later that day that it was because of this ongoing thing at the school. And, you know, as a parent of a teenager, I had to really battle with, when do I step in? When do I fall back? This is a teenager, he needs to learn how to do, you know, have conflict resolution. And at that point, I did step in. And at that point, I did trust the school and El Paso PD that they were doing the necessary steps to ensure my child's safety. Unfortunately, having the kids sign a contract didn't do anything to help my son because nobody followed up. You know, nobody followed up. And unfortunately, that led to him having to go to the hospital. My son's not a weak-minded person. He was just very hurt, and it went on for a very long time. And I don't know if that's how the policy is or that's how they handle the situation, but I don't feel that they did enough at that time because that was the very first incident.
You're Brandon's best friend and close friend. What were some of the things that he shared with you regarding this situation?
Well, like, he'll like come to me. Well, I'll be all the way in Georgia because that's where I recently moved from. Well, too. And he'll like text me or call me every once in a while and tell me what's going on with the situation I'm dealing in school and other people and friend-wise. And me and him was going to school together at Chapin. And we didn't really have any problems. You know, he was cool with everybody. Everybody respected him for who he was. When he came out, a lot of people left his side, but only me and a few other people stood by him because we understood the situation and because we could relate to the same thing. And by him going to another school, it kind of like, I don't know, I guess like everything changed, a new environment, new friends, new attitude, new everything. And people didn't understand, and people always bully him. It wasn't just like the students, it would be teachers too. So it was bothering him, it was getting to him, and he couldn't talk to nobody, really.
Since you're in that age group and bracket, what kind of advice would you give those students watching us on TV right now? I mean, what kind of advice would you give them if they're in the same situation as Brandon was?
It's best for them to actually talk to their parents, actually open up to them and explain to them what's going on at school and how they feel in their situation about their own life. Because they don't talk to their parents, then what can their parents do for them? Their parents is not mind readers. They can't read their children's mind and expect everything's okay and everything's gonna be fine. Because like basically parents is all what you got. They protect you. And that, like, Brandon didn't want to like basically talk to mom because mom would be busy and he didn't want to stress mom over, so he'll keep everything inside.
That's good points. Robert, you Of course, me growing up here in El Paso, and the culture, at least the Hispanic culture, bullying has been around us all the time.
Yeah.
But it was always, don't cry about it, be a man, stand up to it, Your generation and your culture, is that any different than the culture here?
I think personally, for me, growing up in Hawaii, there was a lot of different stuff that we all grew up in. But basically worldwide, it's all the same. You try to be strong and not be, a pansy about it. But in Hawaii, we practice a lot of aloha. And aloha to us is not only a way of living, but also a way of life. It's an attitude that we take on, that everybody deserves an equal chance, that everybody deserves that same sort of respect that we offer everybody. It's not just a word that we practice there, but aloha to us is love. It's something that we practice every day, and Brandon had this instilled in his life from when he was a little boy. So he never went out there and viciously attacked his people by, how would I say it? He wouldn't lash out, or he wouldn't express himself in that manner, because he had a lot of aloha, and that's what Brandon was really about. And back home in Hawaii, when we practice aloha, it's not just a word. It's something that we instill in our kids everywhere, and we even give that to our neighbors, and our neighbors give that to their neighbors. So it's something where it's our lifestyle. That's our culture.
Robert, you're bringing up some really, really good points, and in today's lifestyle, today's lifestyle is it's way too fast.
Yeah, it is.
I can't recall. I recall, sitting at the dinner table with the entire family. Now it's everybody eats.
But we still do that.
And I guess that's the important thing that we're trying to that message we're trying to get across to everybody.
Yeah.
Is that it really starts at home.
Right.
It all starts with how the upbringing comes. If the family doesn't show any interest or anything like that, of course, then the children are not going to show any interest, and they're going to become bullies in certain situations. But what needs to happen is we all kind of need to take a step back and go back to the days where we do sit together at the family table.
Right, and reevaluate the whole thing, because prior to Brandon passing, we already had rules, but the kids weren't allowed on Facebook, for example. I take their cell phones at night. And I think that's how I found out, actually, a lot of times what was going on, because of the cell phone or the Facebook, or someone says something, social media. And I've always taught the kids, I don't mind you using it as long as you're using it positively.
Right.
Keeping in touch with your family, keeping in touch with your friends, not to be participating in any of this cyberbullying.
Right, and that's a really good point. A lot of our kids today, they get upset because they think we're being busybodies or nosy into their stuff. And in reality, what we're doing is we're trying to make sure that they're kept safe.
Right.
And like you said, social media can be used in a very positive manner, but it can also be used in a very destructive manner.
Exactly.
And because information is spread so instantly, it's almost, once it's out there, it's almost hard to take back.
Right.
Well, it's impossible to take back.
Yeah.
Of course, law enforcement is taking a step forward. We're trying to do everything that we can. Unfortunately, sometimes our hands are tied. And that's why the Sheriff's Office took a stand, and we created the Anti-Bullying Coalition, because we started getting a lot of reports into our office regarding bullying, and we figured we needed to do something. Of course, we're currently working with legislators and everything, trying to pass tougher laws to help prevent bullying and stuff like that. But unfortunately, those wheels move really slow.
I think my biggest thing was that at that very first incident, I think the thing that bothers me the most is that I don't believe those other children that were involved, I don't believe that the school or even the police that was there even contacted their parents. I don't know if the situation would have been different had they had, because I know I'm not a proud parent when my kids do something bad. I can't believe that this went on for 2 years and those parents never knew about it. And if they did, shame on them. you know, but I don't believe that they contacted those parents, which is really sad because their kids went on doing it, and I'm pretty sure they didn't just go on doing it to my son. You know, I'm pretty sure there's other kids out there that they've bullied along the way. And parents need to be aware, good or bad, what their kids are doing.
Mm-hmm. I agree with you all. You all said, I mean, you all made your points, you spreading the message. I really love what you said, Robert, and I really wish that would be something that I'm sure every culture has something like that. Yeah. I don't know it in my culture, to be quite honest with you, but I wish there's something that we could actually start.
It offers the kids, like in our Hawaiian culture, it offers the kids a real good chance to be what they really want to be. It doesn't matter your gender, it doesn't matter if you're male or female, it's a way of living. And in the Aloha state, Hawaii, it is a way of living, but you got to remember that sometimes the kids out there even, they make the gesture that aloha also means goodbye. You know, and they take it a step further, you know, and they express themselves a little different, but the whole thing